Memories. One of the most powerful things in the Hoyoverse that we will be learning a lot about very soon. But there is a lot that we already know about memories. Because, you see, I'm sure a lot of Honkai Star Rail only players were confused at how the community collectively exploded as soon as the name Flamechasers was uttered, with unfamiliar names like Elysia, Kevin, Pardofelis floating around that have never been mentioned before. But in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly who these characters are and give you a better understanding for how powerful memories are in the Hoyoverse. Because this is the Flamechasers of the Remembrance Explained. In the last video, I explained the ins and outs of the Remembrance Path and the AEON Fuli, and a lot of you think I sounded like Albert, even though I'm notorious for hating the IPC. The Nova Impact lore is going crazy right now, and it doesn't help that owls are my favorite birds. It's not looking good for me, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna beat these allegations. But Albert allegations aside, let's get into the Flamechasers, shall we? Where do we begin? Well, let's start from the beginning. In Honkai Impact 3rd, the Honkai is a mysterious force that aims to cripple humanity to the brink of extinction, then proceeds to leave. And humanity has to pick up the pieces time and time again to rebuild and establish itself. The way the Honkai does this is to basically possess a human host, transforming them into a demigod known as a Hersher. Put into Star Rail terms, the Honkai is an Aeon and the Hershers are Emanators. Now, the power of the Hersher range in their threat levels just like Emanators do, but each one is a potential apocalyptic threat with a natural hatred for humanity. So basically, think about Rupert 1 as an Aeon, and he has Emanators. That's the level of threat we're talking here. We're talking generational hatred. And after one of these Hersher is defeated, the next one seems to only be stronger than the last one. So humanity has to put together the strongest force possible to fight against the threat of the Honkai. And this is where the Flamechasers come in. Because, you see, humans can't simply fight sentient demigods with normal squishy human people, when demigods can do this. Yeah, they don't fight fair. So in the age 50,000 years before the events of Honkai Impact 3rd, humanity banded together to genetically modify the strongest people they can find, subjecting them to agonizing experimental surgeries, hoping to create a weapon capable of slaying a Hersher. And they were successful. Among others that died in battle and due to horrific side effects, 13 individuals stood out from the rest. Them being Elysia, Kevin Castellana, Apanya, Eden, Vilvi, Kalpis, Sue, Yai Sakura, Mobius, Cosma, Griseo, Hua, and Pardofelis, which just so happened to be the same number of Flamechasers mentioned in the Golden Epic trailer, with many of them bearing likeness to the ones from Honkai Impact 3rd. But why is this so exciting, and how does this relate to memories? Well, that's a great question, with a very simple answer. Because when you meet the Flamechasers in game, all but 3 are dead. Well, technically 4. Yet you can speak and interact with each and every single one in a place called the Elysian realm, created by none other than Elysia, Mobius, and Eden, where the Flamechasers stored their current memories and emotions for all eternity. Write an A, take notes. Now, these weren't just normal memories. These memories were real, very real. Real enough to have a conversation with you. Real enough to reach out and touch you. real enough to make things in the physical world that would actually exist in reality. Real enough that you could fight them and they could kill you. Interacting with them was nearly indistinguishable from speaking to the actual person, which I believe Amphoreus is going to be very similar to. Also, because the things that you use to interact with the flame chasers is called a remembrance vessel and a remembrance sigil. Remembrance, Fuli, memories. You see what I'm getting at here? And on top of that, you use a purple flawless key in order to unlock the characters which look awfully similar to Herta's keys that I'm sure she would call flawless. Remember, Hoyo doesn't do things for no reason. But that aside, in the story you play as the Hersher of Thunder, Raiden Mei. Not to be confused with Raiden Mei, Raiden Bosen Mori Mei, Raiden A, Dr. Mei, or Ruon Mei. Oh, come on, you know I had to say the thing. Anyway, Raiden Mei is a rare case of Hersher that was able to conquer the hate instilled by the Honkai and remain a loving human. And in this Elysian realm, Raiden Mei learned about just how strong the flame chasers were, because the Elysian realm allowed her to fight them. And she lost multiple times and nearly died multiple times. And this Raiden Mei had already defeated a Hersher herself, proving that when Kevin states that defeating a Hersher was not a difficult task, bro was not capping. So when we are told that one of them is
capable of slaying gods,
that lines up. Speaking of things that line up, Amphoreus is going to be a representation of Fuli's ability to recreate the universe from memories. Because I imagine that Amphoreus is going to be the Elysian realm turned up to 100. And all the evidence is there. And so are the flame chasers we know from Honkai Impact 3rd. Let me explain. Okay, so now that you understand the significance of the flame chasers, if I explained every single one, it would take an hour. So let's go into the references and start with the Nameless King in his grand mission of deliverance. Now we know this to be tied to Kevin because each flame chaser has a signet that represents them and kind of embodied the power they held, because each of their genetic modifications were different and had different side effects. Kevin, the leader of the flame chasers signet, was deliverance, and his end goal was to defeat the Honkai and grant humanity, well, deliverance. His plan took over 50,000 years to come to fruition, but in a way, he did succeed. Yes, Kevin pretty much fought the Honkai for 50,000 years, and his wife's name was Dr. Mei, no relation to Raiden Mei, miraculously, but she was the one behind all of the human experimentation. You can question her methods, but you cannot question her results. So besides this god-killing, white-haired deliverance man, we have Cyphera the Fleet-Footed, who bears a striking resemblance to Pardofelis, the 13th of the Flame Chasers, who was known for her speed and bravery despite being the weakest of her group, who courageously sacrificed herself for the sake of humanity. Mightymost Undying is not only in a very similar pose to Kalpis, the 6th of the Flame Chasers, but also seems to have a very similar ability. Because, you see, Kalpis' signet was decimation, and he had the ability to light himself on fire. So he was pretty much always in a state of battle madness, and his signet's ability was to cut his own health to the brink, but he also generated a near unbreakable shield. So he quite literally was undying, until he unfortunately died protecting the Earth, of course. Aglaia the Goldweaver isn't exactly explained, but she works in tandem with a summoned puppet that undeniably mirrors Griseo's fighting style, who ended up living and is still alive in the Honkai 3rd universe today. This three-faced messenger has split herself into multiple different versions, just like Vil V, whose genetic modification side effect split her personality into many different versions that all shared the same body. And Exagoras the Foolish seems to have many parallels to Su, whose signet was Bodhi, represented by the image of a leaf that the camera stays on for way too long for it not to be relevant. He was also blind, similar to how this guy has an eye patch. This priest who severs dawn from dusk that looks way too much like Barbara is probably more like a Panya because priest, church, aesthetic thing. Surfaced, I know, but we don't really get much of a description for her. This infinity sign represents Mobius, the Flamechaser scientist whose signet was infinity, who was obsessed with becoming immortal, and to this day, we're not exactly sure if she succeeded or not. Which means maybe she's here. And saving the best for last, we have March 7th's mother.
What?
I'm kidding. That's fake. The lovely Elysia, who bears a striking resemblance to this girl with pink hair and blue eyes with a similar hair ornament, who simply loved everything very passionately and was obsessed with all things romantic.
Of course, this will be a romantic story like none that has come before.
So for her saying this, it all but confirms that Miss Pink Elf has returned to us. She's a human, by the way. The elf ears are a side effect. Leave it to Elysia to have the most romanticized side effect. And that's all I can really pull from what we know from the Golden Epic trailer. I'm pretty sure every single one of the Flamechasers can and will be linked to one of the ones we know from the 13 and Honkai Impact 3rd. We just don't know all of them, and the last 3 are blacked out, so who knows who they could be. So according to all the information we currently have at our disposal, that is the Flamechasers explained. And also why we are all so hyped for them and why so many people are already saving. I hope this video gave you some insight for those of you who didn't play Honkai Impact 3rd and just need a rundown for what's going on, because I hate being left out and I hate seeing people be left out. So if you see this video and know someone who skipped Honkai Impact 3rd and are utterly confused at the pandemonium that's currently going on, send them this video. Help them out, because there are way too many people that are left in the dark right now. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.